it's very difficult. I find that it's very difficult to get people even excited about a message of freedom these days. And that's sad. That's a sad thing. You'll hear people basically saying you have too extreme of a position when we're already enslaved. And this is what people are basically saying. It's like a very wishy-washy attitude, especially from men. I mean, again, in no way am I trying to make any kind of a sexist statement regarding this, but it's a statement that I would expect more from a female member of society. Moreover, not because they're just less apt to understand real freedom, but because this system of control benefits them a lot more than it does men in many ways. It also oppresses them as much, if not more so, than men in many ways. But you can see how the system has been designed to basically do a lot of violence unto men, particularly at the behest of women in many cases when it comes to certain things that they want to do, to use the apparatus of the violence of the state to get back at men in some ways. Okay, if there's a problem between them. The state has traditionally been used like that by many women in society. So you can understand the perceived benefits that a lot of women in society have regarding the state. What I can't understand more so, much more so than that attitude, is I can't understand how men can want to continue to support and uphold the completely immoral institution that is government. It's very saddening to me that this is how domesticated and emasculated men have become. You know, I mean, they have literally had the courage sucked right out of them. They're wishy-washy. They're soft. Let's just come out right and say it. They're cowards. They're cowards. You say something about rebellion to them. You say something even just about how absolutely immoral government is. And you could see that look come over their face like a frightened dog. Like, oh my God, he's talking about this. Oh, how am I going to get out of this situation? I don't want to talk about this. I'm too scared to talk about this. I'm too chicken to talk about this. I'm too much of a little boy to even talk about this, let alone do something about it. And this is where society is at, folks. You have practically half of society cheering on the state, and the other half is too chicken shit to do anything about the absolute immoral coercion, violence, and slavery that's being enacted by the state. And until that changes, don't expect anything better than what we have. Expect it to get infinitely worse. Because men have to really start to deeply understand that they need to table this discussion about how the state needs to ultimately be confronted and ultimately ended. But moreover, they need to table the discussion that they need to start having absolutely nothing to do with women who want anything to do with the state. To cut them out of their lives until they put their head on straight and realize that the state is coercion, violence, and slavery. And until they recognize those things and don't want anything to do with it as an institution on this planet, men should have nothing to do with them and should do nothing for them. And I know these will be words that will be very difficult for people to hear out there. Well, tough. I could care less how you perceive it. I'm not here to be your friend or be liked by you. I've said that a million times. I'm here to tell the truth about what's going on in this society so that slavery can be ended in it. People's minds are completely socially engineered by people they never met, never even knew, and aren't ever going to know, probably.
Ain't that crazy?
Who meet covertly, plan covertly, and execute their plans covertly. What I find hard to swallow about all of this is that I'm living in the city where the founding fathers of America lived, walked, wrote the Declaration of Independence, organized against the British, fought the British, and set up the foundational principles by which this country was supposed to allegedly work. And in that very city, you have a bunch of wishy-washy little boys who are afraid to even table a discussion to talk about the immorality of the state.
Facts.
And here's why, folks. They have no courage. They're cowards.
No backbone?
They're afraid of rebellion. They're afraid of lawful, righteous rebellion. It instills fear in them, like a little boy. And that's why they're living lives of quiet desperation. That's why they find life so difficult and constantly battling against it. Never going actually with a flow of life, but constantly in a state of depression, constantly in a state of conflict. Internal conflict and conflict with those around them. And they don't understand why things aren't going to get any easier, because they're battling against creation itself. They're battling against the universe itself. If there's one thing I know for sure, the universe rewards those with courage. That's why it's rewarding the dark occultists. Again, this is something people don't want to hear me say. How could you say the universe rewards evil, Mark? Why? Because if evil people have more courage than good people, you know what? The universe is going to reward them. It's going to work that way. Especially if they don't actually carry out the actual physically harmful behavior and get stupid dog, minion, robot followers to do it for them. They understand how to perform little tricks to get around the brunt of natural law consequences, these dark occultists. Not that they're going to escape at all, but they're certainly not going to get hit with the kind of karmic debt that an order follower gets hit with. People still don't understand how that works.
Yep,
because they think karma and natural law work some different way than it actually does. I've talked about this concept before on the podcast. I call it dark care. When somebody who has bad intentions at least aligns their thoughts, their emotions, and their behaviors. Their thoughts, their emotions, and their actions are aligned as one. Even if they want to carry out dark deeds, they're going to be able to accomplish it because they're unified and they're not in internal conflict and division. They're not divided amongst themselves. They're on the same page. And all I see out there in society, again, I don't want to make a blanket statement. This is a generalization because there are some very, very good, courageous people out there. I'm making a generalization about people in this city in particular, in most major cities on both coasts, I would say, most major cities in the United States, period. And again, it's because people don't have the courage to speak out, or because they're too afraid of, oh, what are people going to think of me if I speak out? What might happen to me? Might an agent of the government come after me or something? You know, will I be harassed? Will I be watched? Will I be listened to? You know what? Who cares about any of those things? The only reason that you're going to care about any of those things is if you're a chicken shit coward. Then you'll care about those things a whole lot. I could care less who's listening to me. I could care less who's watching me. You know what? All they can do is learn something from my words and attitude and behaviors. Maybe by watching me and paying attention to what I'm saying and trying to record it all, maybe you'll learn something, little boy. Maybe you'll learn something, little girl. Time for you to grow up. You think I'm worried about who's listening to me, who's tracking my activities, who's tracking what I'm saying? Do it as much as you want. First of all, I'm not afraid of you. Because I know that's all you are, is a little arrested development, completely spiritually deadened being. What do I have to be afraid of that? I'm not afraid of you physically, let alone spiritually. And once again, true courage is not the absence of fear. I'm not saying that you need to be completely fearless. You know, you be completely fearless, you could be reckless. Courage is moving forward with what you're doing that you know to be right in spite of whatever fears may be present. That means you could say to yourself, oh, I might be afraid of what the government might do, of what these order-following hordes of orcs might do to me physically, because they're brainwashed morons. But you know what? That doesn't mean that you're not going to continue to do what you're doing anyway. See, that's where the absolute cowardice of most of the people of this society comes in. They let their fear stop them from doing anything. stop them from taking right action, stop them from learning, stop them from understanding, stop them from putting information forward for others to understand. And as soon as the word rebellion is spoken, they shut down. People have this total fear that they allow to cut them off from what not only they want to be doing in many cases, but what they really should be doing and need to be doing if we're going to reverse this human condition of slavery. There's so many people who could probably actually do a good job with conveying information because they have a mind that can take in information and process it and understand it and then deliver that to others. But they're in this state of arrested development. They've been shut down before they even begin. It really is like a child in many cases with these people. It's like a frightened child who says, "Oh, Daddy told me not to go near that. That's in Daddy's closet. We don't go in there because that's where all his stuff is at. And he told us we don't go in there." This is really what it's like. It's like a psychological child. They can't get past that fear. They can't get past that idea that they've been told you don't go to that topic. And so they obey. And as long as that courage is missing, they're going to remain enslaved. I mean, this is what a lot of occultists looked at as the ultimate answer. Courage. More so than even care, more so than even knowledge and understanding. They looked at courage as the absolute essential ingredient in the awakening of the soul. Because it takes courage to even look into information to understand what's going on. That kind of courage is required. Not only courage to act upon right information, but courage to even take it in because they're so afraid of how bad things are and how ugly the truth is that they don't even want to do the work to take in the knowledge. And I mean, what really sickens me about people like that is they're squandering what our ancestors did for us, which was, for a short amount of time, create a pocket of freedom in a world that was completely enslaved. Yeah, the encroachment came right back in and took it, took that modicum of freedom that they built, this encroachment of tyranny. But for a time, America was the freest and most prosperous place to live on the surface of this planet. And what the cowards of the modern day world, the men and women of America today, are doing is squandering what our ancestors fought and in many cases died to create here. And when I think about where I'm at, that saddens me greatly because Philadelphia is where that basically started. And the battles that took place near here, the men who died fighting tyranny near here, especially at a place such as Valley Forge, I think about the spirits of those individuals who cared enough about freedom and who actually had the courage to do something when their freedom was threatened the way it was, and ultimately gave their lives in many cases. The spirits of those individuals is completely at a state of unrest and cannot rest because of what's going on in this country now. And we have men in society who are completely neutered because they're so afraid of actually speaking out, let alone doing something to challenge the immorality of this state. They don't even want to talk about it. They don't even want to put it on the table and talk about it. I mean, they think they're men. You are absolutely deballed, neutered animals. You don't even resemble a man. Arrested development, folks. That's what creates this absence of slavery. They don't even have an emotionally developed makeup to even be able to get angry at things that should anger them, at ways that they're completely controlled. And even worse, they'll let people who absolutely don't care about freedom influence them because of what they want from those people, their employers or their spouses or their family members. All these fake forms of loyalty out there. that people are letting just completely stunt their spiritual and emotional development and keep them inactive. It's the worst place to be, ladies and gentlemen. I've talked about it before. The worst place that one could possibly be in this world is to know what's going on within yourself, within your own mind, and to let other people keep you in a state of fear and inaction. I'm talking about people who have, particularly, who have spouses who they'll listen to and they'll say, I don't want you involved in that. Oh, it's too dangerous. Or you sound like you're crazy because you think these things. Just because they don't understand them. And people fear what they don't understand. So they're in shutdown mode and they say, you got to be in shutdown mode with me. And you know what? That's the worst place you could possibly be, especially as an individual who knows something about what's going on. I'll tell you what, it's the last place I'd ever want to be. In many cases, people are living in such a state of conflict internally and conflict with the truth that they'll go into addiction mode, to beat up on themselves, doing drugs and alcohol, and trying to numb out that knowing, that inner knowing that they should be involved in this battle. Part of getting that whole attitude out of your whole makeup is to develop real courage and start getting on the side of truth and start getting on the side of right action, to do what you need to be doing in society, to start doing the great work. And you'll see how the universe will come to your aid and your life will actually improve. People think, why is my life so difficult? Why am I encountering so much resistance, etc.? Well, part of it is because you don't care about truth. Part of it is because you don't care about freedom. And you're not actively doing something to try to advance those things in the world. People love their creature comforts. And I understand women's love of creature comforts. What really aggravates me is how much men have become attached to creature comforts and how much they love, quote unquote, love life. Whenever I hear people say, I love life, it's like, I don't know how you could love this state of existence the way that it is. You love life the way it is. There's something seriously, seriously broken inside of you. I mean, you're way, way more screwed up than I even imagined. Life in the form that we're living it today shouldn't be loved, folks. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking the whole idea of life. Of course, life is a brilliant gift, a wonderful gift. But I'm saying if you love the way things are now, there's something really wrong with you. And this is the problem. People are so attached to their comforts, the way that they do things now, the way that they have something set up. You'll hear people say, I don't want to speak out about that, or I don't want to talk about any of that because I don't want to lose what I have. You don't want to lose what you have. What do you think you have? Things you think you even have don't even belong to you. Your body is claimed by somebody else, let alone your physical objects, like your house or your car. It's a joke. This is how selfish and satanic this society is. This idea that I'm comfortable. I'm in a comfortable job. I'm in a comfortable house. I'm in a comfortable relationship. These are all false notions of comfort anyway. You're in a relationship where the other person really doesn't care about freedom. You're not in any real relationship. You're just attached. That's all. You just don't want to be by yourself because you're trying to fulfill some need to be with somebody else when that's not any kind of genuine situation. But you're in a job and you're happy that you make a certain amount of money so you can live a certain lifestyle, and really all you're doing is prostituting yourself. How many people are actually doing something they genuinely want to be doing? Very, very, very few. Because all they want is the paycheck. They'll prostitute themselves out for it. Again, it all comes down to absence of courage. I'm too cowardly to stand up to my boss. I'm too cowardly to quit my job and do something I really want to do. I'm too cowardly to stand up to my so-called spouse because they're saying that what I'm talking about doesn't have any validity or is quote-unquote crazy. I mean, imagine people allowing other people's perceptions to color what they're doing because they don't have the courage to stand up for themselves and do what they want to do or what they know they should be doing. And ultimately, it comes down to we love our comfort in our lives, quote unquote, more than we love freedom, more than we love truth and freedom. And that's a false form of love that has nothing to do with agape, with true love.
Unconditional.
With love as a higher form of awareness and consciousness that allows consciousness to expand and unfold and evolve. And again, it's part of the whole social engineering, the war on men, the war on the sacred masculine aspect of self-defense, trying to keep them as calm as possible so they can water without resistance. There's a war on testosterone, folks. This is another thing I'm going to talk about at Free Your Mind 4. That's the chemical of rebellion, and they want that eliminated from society as much as possible. The chemical assault that people are under to arrest their development and destroy testosterone in society, which is not only essential for a man's development and the spirit of rebellion to be present in a man, but it's also necessary for women to have testosterone in their bodies to have hormonal balance, healthy sexual attitudes and energy, and for them to have an amount of rebellion within them, not to just be enslaved and ruled. So it's an essential compound for both men and women. And that's why there's a war on it. That's why there's so many over estrogenizing chemicals, estrogen mimickers, that take this compound out of the human physiology. I personally know an individual, a man, who's a friend of mine, who had such a problem with testosterone, I won't mention any names, but had such a problem with testosterone that his doctor told him, for all intents and purposes, you have the hormonal balance of a woman. Your body is mimicking the hormonal aspects of a woman because your testosterone levels are so low, they're almost non-existent for what they should be as a man. And this individual had to have testosterone injections. I'm not even sure he might even still be taking them. So, I mean, this is because of this chemical onslaught. Things like bisphenol A is another thing that attacks testosterone and acts as an estrogen mimicker. Who knows what's in the heavy metal, toxic soup that they're spraying on us every day, being sprayed like bugs from the chemtrail assault. I think there's still an enormous amount of ignorance in society. But I don't necessarily believe that any amount of talking is going to remedy that ignorance, because these people are willfully ignorant. But not only willfully ignorant, they are cowards, period.
Facts.
And their cowardice is not going to allow them to see the truth, accept the truth, and act upon the truth.
Show you right.
And no amount of suffering is going to develop courage. Courage is something that has to be worked within the individual to be built up, to be built upon. And that takes time, especially if someone has lived in a state of cowardice, softness, weakness for their whole lives. That's why they want a society of so-called men that aren't men at all, raised by, in many cases, single women who don't care about anything but creature comfort, getting their way, getting what they want out of men, getting what they want out of the state, and aren't concerned with freedom whatsoever, not even a little bit.
True.
These aren't men, folks. They're little children. They have arrested development, not only spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physical arrested development, because their hormonal balance is completely off. Their testosterone levels are completely off. The chemical makeup of their brain is imbalanced. Their right brain imbalanced.
Bring it out.
And in many cases, they're both left and right brain imbalanced. They're eggheads who are also cowards. The egghead side of it is over-intellectualization, and the right brain side of it that's off is you're willing to lay down to tyranny. A lot of people with letters after their name that these titles are so proud of are just like that. Completely off and imbalanced. They're not even a man. That's not a man. A male doctor, a male scientist. You know, most of these people are cowards. They don't care about anything but money. They're totally reductionist in their thinking about consciousness and total egghead, over-intellectualized, left brain imbalanced cowards.
Bring it out.
When I think about where I live and what happened here and how the founders and the revolutionaries of America, how their efforts are being squandered by the absolute hipster, leftist, commie trash that exists in this city and throughout this nation. These too cool for school know-nothings. Television watchers is what they are. Brainwashed television watchers who think they know something. And you know what they are? They're communists walking around in costumes. Dirty communists. And they'll spread this cultural Marxist garbage, which, by the way, do me a favor. Anybody that wants to try to convince me the founding fathers of America were somehow bad people, don't bother to email me. Don't bother to attempt to contact me in any way, because you're a moron. I'm not interested in your cultural Marxist garbage. Okay? Go move to North Korea or someplace where you could spread your cultural Marxist garbage to another bunch of zombies, because it ain't flying with me, because I'm more educated than all of that. Okay? Gramsci's plan is not going to work on somebody like me. You're not going to convince me that what those men fought and died for was to set up some other form of slavery here. I don't buy that revisionist bullshit. I'm not interested in hearing it. I've already looked into the claim and have rejected it thoroughly as bullshit. And I wasted too much of my time even doing that, because it smelled like bullshit before I even investigated it. And I have done that investigation, and it holds no water. And quite frankly, I'm tired of hearing a lot of this crap that all it does is try to put doubt in people's minds and take them off the course. It's a really good tactic of distraction and manipulation and disinformation. What the founding fathers and the revolutionary individuals of early America did for this country, being squandered by people who are know-nothing television watchers. It's a disgrace. Let me tell you something, folks. The founders would have already called for war a long time ago. A long time ago, they would have called the militia up.
Yeah, so there you have it, folks. A little something by Mark Passio, speaking on current events. Now, Mark definitely make a lot of great points. Now, for those who are familiar with Mark Passio work, you know that he could be on the What on Earth is Happening.com. You know, you can check out his podcasts and stuff like that. Just touching on some of the stuff that Mark was speaking on, though, he definitely speak truth to power in the concept of the times that we live in now and how people choose to live. We definitely see an over exemplification of people wanting to be comfortable in society, especially comfortable with what's been thrown at them, and like the great points that he made, especially a lot of people who are working and, you know, got certain things that are coming by their way, which keeps them in a state of comfortability and not in the point of them asking any questions or wanting to challenge or change anything. We're living in quite serious times and stuff now, you know, even to take a clip like that was actually recorded potentially a few years ago. So it's not something that is necessarily a new clip. However, the truth and information therein still remains quite pertinent and still remains quite apt to what we see going on. If anything, it's even more so apt now. Some of us who have been privy to information like this for some years, it isn't nothing new, and it's quite prophetic when we start looking at how we see things in society now unfolding. and has us wondering, what direction things are gonna go. So we're gonna keep working on bringing you some more content like this. This is something just a little short excerpt, but we really want to explore some more of these things. So as we find in our shape on this channel, we encourage you to like, share, subscribe. Check out back.online.com where you can go onto, that's our main website, and you can sort of get, a main feel of a lot of the other stuff that we do. But for our Black focused content, it will be centralized and will be pushed towards this medium and just more of our political stuff. So family, peace to y'all. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, because that's going to really help with us. Stay up, stay woke, and always look out for your folks. You dig?